He's part of the all-time big three with Arnold and Sly. But let's not just celebrate Will as hard guy. Be quirky in the face of death attitude only for the Die Hard franchise. Armageddon was blockbuster cheese at its best. And Willis might have delivered some of his best one-liners in the underrated 1991 classic, The Last Boy Scout. Plus, his vignette in Pulp Fiction provided the most action and entertainment within the film. Often considered the first true sci-fi heroine, Weaver earned critical acclaim as Ripley in 1979's Alien. She became an even bigger action star with the following films in the series, including the sequel Aliens, which earned her an Oscar nomination, though Weaver's career delved into more dramatic roles. And several comedy spins. She's again shown her action and sci-fi chops somewhat in Galaxy Quest and Avatar. Whether in westerns or war films, the Duke usually delivered, from his breakthrough role in the western, Stagecoach 1939 to The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance 1962, The Longest Day 1962 to True Grit 1969. Wayne was one of Hollywood's biggest stars from the late 1930s, and into the 70s, he's still the epitome of cool. When it comes to leading men in Hollywood action films, Wahlberg follows along the lines of Will Smith. He's a big enough box office draw that his fans, and moviegoers in general, will come to see him in just about anything. Wahlberg also does enough of them that, while he's missed on more than a few action roles, he fared well in hits like Three Kings, Planet of the Apes, and Contraband. The point is that if Wahlberg keeps making action films, people will continue to watch. We first got a real eye on the muscles from Brussels in the surprise 1988 hit Bloodsport, arguably still his best film. And the rest is action hero history. From the late 1980s to the 1990s, Van Damme and Steve Seagal were staples of Hollywood action films. Cyborg, Kickboxer, Double Impact, Universal Soldier, and, of course, Time Cop are just a few of his highlights. The late, great Swayze was stellar at mixing drama and action, though he's probably best known for sappy films like Dirty Dancing and Ghost, where he displayed minimal physical angst. Swayze starred in arguably three of the most popular guilty pleasure action films of the 1980s and 90s, Red Dawn, Roadhouse, and Point Break. At this moment, if we're going to talk about the current big three of action-adventure films, Statham would round out a group that includes Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson. Statham's early roles in films, like The Italian Job 2003, paved the way for him to make real money as an A-list action star in such franchises as The Expendables and The Fast and Furious, the latter in which we can see him team up with Johnson in the spin-off Fast and Furious Presents, Hobbs and Shaw. Some might think it's a neck-and-neck race between Stallone and Schwarzenegger for the best action star in movie history. Fair enough. While the Rocky movies might not be considered action flicks, the first two in the franchise opened the door for Stallone to become a superstar and ultimately an action film staple. Nighthawks followed, and his continuing role as John Rambo took Sly's career to even greater heights. Popcorn action works like Cobra, Tango and Cash, Demolition Man, and Judge Dredd only added to the fun. Snipes' early film work was consumed by comedic roles, but that changed with the neo-gangster hit New Jack City 1991, when we got a glimpse of him flexing some muscle. He then became an action flick staple thanks to Passenger 57, Boiling Point, Demolition Man, and U.S. Marshals. And then he really hit it big with 1998's Blade, and the series of films that followed. As big as a universal entertainer as Smith became in the early 1990s, it was only a matter of time before the Fresh Prince started making action movies. It started with the buddy comedy Bad Boys, 1995, followed by blockbusters Independence Day and Men in Black. By this time, Smith was a worldwide superstar and continued to take on science fiction action roles that fans still flock to see today, following in the footsteps of Chuck Norris and other modern-day martial arts entertainers. Seagal was an action film mainstay during the late 1980s and into the 90s, complete with his jet black ponytail and tan frame. Seagal cleaned house on screen and at the box office with hits like Above the Law 1988, Marked for Death, Out for Justice, Under Siege, and Executive Decision. Arnold probably tops that list. If we were ranking the greatest action stars of all time, from world-famous bodybuilder to action hero staple to politician, Schwarzenegger has always been larger than life, whether as part of the Conan and Terminator franchises or in Commando, Predator, or Total Recall. He even poked fun at himself in Last Action Hero. Arnold truly is the lord of the action movie world. Russell's days as a leading action star might be in the past, but he's still among the most respected in the business in his hard guy. Early work as the Great Snake Plissken. Action cult classics like Escape from New York and Escape from LA still hold up well today. One of the most versatile actors of all time, Russell even succeeded when the action comedy Big Trouble in Little China and has popped up in the Fast and the Furious franchise. For as much as critics pan the schlock Reeves has starred in, film audiences have never been able to stay away from him. His action film career really started as Johnny Utah in 1991's Point Break. He became a box office superstar, with Speed 1994 opposite Sandra Bullock, followed by the Matrix films, and more recently, the whole John Wick phenomenon. Maybe the title of this list should be Chuck Norris and everyone else. While those jokes regarding how tough Norris is are funny, it's a tribute to a guy who literally made a living starring in action films. Then, of course, those Total Gym commercials. In the mood for some good old-fashioned, feel-good senseless Hollywood violence, check out The Octagon, Force Vengeance, Missing in Action, Code of Silence, and The Delta Force, then take cover. Neeson has starred as a wide range of characters during an extremely successful career, and his action roles should be celebrated. Early on, his most notable parts were in the Deadpool 1988 and Darkman 1990, a turn in the Star Wars prequels, and perhaps his most ruthless role in the Taken 2008 films. Neeson wasn't that bad as Hannibal Smith in the Team 2010 movie either. One of the biggest stars of the 1960s and 70s, McQueen was a cool customer, the kind of actor moviegoers wanted to be like. His action roles were in films that were more along the lines of dramatic thrillers, though disasters, car chases, and shootouts were part of the plot lines. McQueen's work in The Magnificent Seven 1960, The Great Escape 1963, and The Towering Inferno 1974 still holds up well today. Lundgren's breakthrough came as Ivan Drago, Rocky Balboa's international nemesis in 1985's Rocky IV. That was the start of a stellar action career for the chiseled Swede, who went on to star as He-Man in Masters of the Universe. Solid efforts in Red Scorpion and Universal Soldier followed. After many direct-to-video efforts, Lundgren became part of the Expendables family like many others on this list. Lee might not have the star power as Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan, but he could hold his own on the martial arts action film scene. Though Lee shined in War 2007 with Jason Statham, The Forbidden Kingdom 2008 with Chan, and alongside the all-star cast of the Expendables movies, we still think his best role might be that of Han Sing in 2000's Romeo Must Die.